need to tell you about a girl named Daisy. Today is March the 12th. This is the 113th anniversary of the Girl Scouts in the USA. Overseas, they're called Girl Guides. Now, Daisy, in her young years, she was a stunt maker. Later in life, she became adventurous. Now, she was born in Savannah in 1860 on Halloween. She was the second of 6 children. Now, she always said, "I'm just a plain woman with common sense." But her friends knew her as a plain woman with uncommon sense. Now, when she was 25, she had an earache. She went to the doctor, and the doctor injected silver nitrate into her ear, and she lost part of her hearing. The next year, in 1886, she got married. She married William Mackey Lowe. And during the wedding, when they threw the rice, a piece of rice got into the other ear. Oh. And so when the doctor did surgery on that ear, she lost hearing in that ear completely. Now, Mr. Lowe, he inherited a good deal of money from his family. So they were doing okay. And so they had a home in Savannah. And then later they decided they wanted to move to London. So they took the ship to London, bought a home there, and they had a hunting lodge in Scotland. So later, in 1905, they got a divorce. They had no children, and Mr. Lowe passed away. So Juliet, she inherited all of the money in the family.
Even though they were divorced?
Yeah.
In 1911, she was 50 years old, and she was a social butterfly in London. And she met Sir Neville Smith, an aviator, and she had an interest in flying. Well, he introduced her to the head of the Boy Scouts, Robert Baden Powell, was the head of the Boy Scouts. And of course, she wanted the girls to join the Boy Scouts. But he says no, and he pointed her, he says, "Go see my sister, who's forming up the Girl Guides." So Juliet went and worked with the Girl Guides for a while, and was so impressed, she says, "Well, I want to bring Girl Guides to America." So in 1912, she came back to Savannah, organized 2 troops. The White Rose was one, and the Carnation was the other. And on March the 12th, the Girl Guides were formed in Savannah. Now, the next year, 1913, the girls didn't like the name Girl Guides, so they changed it to Girl Scouts. And that's how it evolved. Now, Juliet, she believed that a Girl Scout should choose a career and have a backup career. And of course, always be prepared. Now, in 1915, she had to sell her pearls to pay for the troop. So she sold valuable pearls to pay for the Girl Scout troops. 1917, Muskogee, Oklahoma. What do you think happened there? The Girl Scout troop, mistletoe, baked cookies, and sold them in the high school cafeteria. So that was the start of something big in 1917. 1920. Okay, in 1920, Juliet bowed out of the Girl Scouts somewhat. She became the founder and turned the presidency over to Mrs. Woodrow Wilson. So Mrs. Wilson did a fine job during the next year. And so Juliet wanted to award her something. So she had a special medal prepared that had diamonds and rubies, and it was set in gold. And that was presented to Mrs. Wilson. In 1926, Juliet organized a world camp, and 30 countries attended. Later that year, she suffered breast cancer and passed away January 17, 1927, at age 66. And 200 Girl Scouts were at the funeral, and she was buried in Savannah in her uniform. Now, at the 100th anniversary of the Girl Scouts, there was a big celebration on the mall in Washington at the Washington Monument. And President Obama awarded Juliet with a Presidential Medal of Freedom. And my wife, at age 72, was right there with hundreds of Girl Scouts. And we have a...
I think Linda's got it right there, yeah. Linda's got it.
You're showing the there's pictures of Mary Ann on the mall with the Girl Scouts. And I'd like to just share a little bit of Mary Ann's experience with the Girl Scouts. She was a 60-year Girl Scout. She joined as a 10-year-old, and here's her picture here, in 1950. Mary Ann said, you make good friends in the Girl Scouts. Now, the Girl Scouts have 6 levels for learning their badges. They have Daisy, Brownie, and Junior, Cadet, Senior, and Ambassador. Now, in 1956, when Mary Ann had reached the senior level, she was in high school, and they started something new. They started a Girl Scout roundup. And what happened was that they selected a number of girls from each state and Girl Guides from 8 foreign countries. And so they had a roundup in Michigan, just north of Detroit. 5,000 girls were in tents for 10 days up in Michigan. That was the first Girl Scout roundup. There were later roundups in Burlington, Vermont, and Mary Ann went to 2 of those, and also in Colorado Springs, and she went out there with that. Now, in addition to the roundups, there are 5 international world centers for Girl Guides and Girl Scouts. Mary Ann, with a group of 10 Girl Scout ladies, traveled to London, and she went to Pax Lodge. And these are all the patches from Pax Lodge here on this jacket. She also went to Mexico City. That's another of the 5. She went to our chalet in the mountains of Switzerland. She had to pull her suitcase up the side of the mountain, she said. She did not go to Poon, India, and she did not go to the new World Center in Africa, which is in Accra, Ghana. Mary's favorite activity was camping. She was a master trainer in Atlanta for outdoor cooking, tent pitching, and canoeing. She loved canoeing. She went kayaking with Linda.
Yeah, we went kayaking last time with her in 2017.
Wow.
She came to the beach. We took her out kayaking.
Outer Banks. In 1989, she joined the History and Archives Committee, where they would preserve documents, photos, clothing, and manuals. Mary Ann always instructed the girls to be prepared for any life situation and build your self-confidence. Now, in Mapleton, Georgia, that's the headquarters in Atlanta for the Girl Scouts. There's 2 large buildings. In one of the buildings, they have the clothing store where they sell clothing. And it has a good sized lobby in that building. And there are glass cases on the walls in the building. And so her co-workers on the History and Archives Committee wanted to do a tribute to Mary Ann. So behind one of the glass cases, they built a model of a campsite and put all of her patches and awards in this behind the glass. And the inscription was, Mary Ann Milton, the ultimate Girl Scout. And Mary Ann was awarded the Thanks Badge number 2 in 2015. This is the highest award an adult can receive.
Oh, that's so nice.
And this was a carry-down seat from the days of Mrs. Woodrow Wilson. So this is our Girl Scout story. And when you have a chance, come by and look at her items here.
Yeah, she has that's what do you call it, the second thanks badge? Was that the one? The
Yes.
big one? Yeah, that's on their blouse right there, isn't it?
Yes, and her medal is the thanks too bad is there on her shirt. Yeah. Well, thank you, and thank you, Marcia, for
You're
letting.
welcome.
All right. That's right. Very good.
Anybody have any questions or anything?
But I got a story. I was part of the Girl Scouts. I was in high school.
In high school? Uh-huh.
I was basically a camp assistant. And I helped teach the girls how to build their tents.